How's it going, everyone? I am Nick from Go2Game. Today we're joined by JackHuddo, head of Go2Game. How's it going, Jack?
Good, mate. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. In this video, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we've kind of noticed throughout the week in the games and esports industry and some of the game and releases that have happened. Look at the statistics and some of the Twitter features as well that are kind of coming out. In this first piece, we're actually looking at 100 Thieves. It looks like they've teamed up with Channing Tatum, Reed Caroline in promoting a new film called Dog. Huddo, what do you think of this? Have you seen this? Like, this is a really interesting collaboration where a gaming organization, 100 Thieves, is now promoting a movie, something going to cinema. What are your thoughts on that?
It's wild. Like, it's actually crazy. Because it's got some big names in it, obviously, like Channing Tatum. I think you hit it perfectly. Like, there, like, when has like a movie needed a gaming organization to promote their movie where the main person is Channing Tatum?
Yeah.
That to me just seems crazy. Like, I know 100 Thieves, they always do stuff like this. Like, they go balls to the wall with everything they do. And even you look at a few of the comments, they're like, this is like the crossover I never expected. And all the comments below that are just 100 Thieves things. Like, that literally sums up all of this. Like, whether Dog the movie or Dog the film needed it, and whether Channing Tatum needed it, most probably not. But is it cool? Does it probably drive the movie into a different audience? Because now I'm sitting here going, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I probably never would have seen Dog the film if it wasn't like a crossover with 100 Thieves. So I think like more people pushing into the gaming, doing it like this seems pretty cool. Like this Twitter video they did was pretty basic, standing there talking about it. Channing Tatum and Reed standing there kind of just chilling. But they're going to be doing a like a live stream with Courage and Wig and a few others from 100 Thieves. So like that'll be cool. Get to see like a bit of a sneak preview of what they do at the compound. I think it's cool. This is what I've been saying for years. I've wanted to see stuff like this happen. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and like with a lot of new kind of collabs coming out with different types of movies as well, I think there's the big overlap, and like we've seen it as well with Nice Guy. Was it that one of the gaming movies with who plays Daredevil? Not Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I can't remember his name.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Free Guy.
Yeah. And they had all the gamers come into Free Guy, right?
Yeah.
That's shit. That's one way. And now like they've just kind of got these collaborations with gamers and esports, and it just seems to be like the next wave. And I think even at the Super Bowl, they had hip hop for the first time in history. There is a new audience that everyone's trying to resonate with, right? Whether it be gamers, whether it be in a specific type of music or genre that people listen to. But there's this new audience that's growing and becoming of age. And I think organizations are slowly waking up to that, and marketers are slowly waking up to that. So there's a really cool thing that's happening where we're growing up, we're having kids, they're playing games. Like there's all of this kind of next wave mentality happening, and brands are starting to meet their audiences where they hang out. Right. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's always been trying to be the big thing. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what's coming next, man. Like there's so many cool announcements coming up.
And I think it's like everyone's been cooped up for so long, and everyone's sort of at the moment being able to get out a little bit more. Like lockdowns and restrictions are starting to ease ever so slightly. So being able to push gamers to, go and see a movie where people, even me, like I'm not really a big like going to the movies. Like I'll watch a movie at home, but I'm not really like a big go to the movies or go to the picture theater, whatever you want to call it. But like for something like this, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit exciting. Dog the Film's kind of got involved with the gaming scene a little bit. Maybe it was 100 Thieves that reached out and wanted to do something. Like, who knows, whatever. But there's a little bit of a collab here. That's kind of made me a little bit keen. And I'm like, I haven't been to the movies in like 2 years. Maybe this is, I'll take the kids in. Maybe this is a kids movie. I can take the kids and the wife down and we can go watch it. And I'll say, oh, this was a, I saw this because of 100 Thieves, the gaming org. And my wife will go, cool, I don't care. But it'll be a thing,
Yeah. Like,
you know imagine,
imagine like Pokimane promoting the next Minions movie or something, right? Like what happens with that?
Honestly, the possibilities are endless. It really is. So even some of the stuff we did with Warner Music a couple of years ago with Skrillex, like anything like that is honestly like the possibilities are legitimately endless.
Yeah.
Is what I want to do this year, Nick. I want to do some cool stuff like this. We don't have a gaming org, but we can figure something out.
100%. Well, like we've got some stuff in the works at the moment that's pretty cool with motocross and then Lance and all of that. So that's been
100%
thinking outside the box and a bit different to what we normally see in the gaming space, right? It's like build things that haven't been done before that incite audience engagement, but also like build kind of a different brand positioning that may not be seen before in most brands, right? Like they've kind of testing new audiences with their product, their service, their film, whatever else it is. And I think that's what we're really excited about, is finding people that and working with companies and organizations that are interested in building into that audience. So I'm really keen.
I even had a chat on the back of that today, discussing how the campaign's going, stoked with how well it's going right now. And then even already mentioning, for the next one, we'll do a vlog style instead of like a sponsored kind of a couple of videos, like, extend it out, use a different creator. So, even gaming's going back the opposite way now, putting gaming laptops in front of motocross riders and their editors and having fun at their compounds built out of dirt in the middle of their paddocks. Like it's switching back the other way now as well, coming in. So yeah, I'm very excited. This has given me like some ideas about what we can do.
Yeah, definitely
coming up. So
100%. So in some exciting news, Netflix has partnered with 2K and Take-Two Interactive to produce a Bioshock film. Now, I don't know about you, Huddo. I played all of the Bioshocks. I've loved them so much. And Bioshock 1 in particular, like multiple times. To have a film adaptation, and we've talked about this in the Gaming Trends video, that there's now more things coming out, more games that are coming out with film adaptations, TV series or similar, like The Witcher, Arcane from League of Legends, even Dota's got their own animated series. Like, what are your thoughts on these adaptations coming across and kind of bringing a whole new audience or adapting to the audiences that exist on Netflix or exist on these platforms? Like, what are your thoughts on how they're bringing stories across multiple media types?
I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. I guess it's the same as like the same sort of vein, I guess, in a way, of bringing a game across platforms. There's different audiences, there's different amounts of people that play PC versus console versus even handheld. So being able to bring a game across all of those and hit all those markets, one, obviously good for sales, good for kind of reach, impressions on all of your socials, because people are going to be looking at it and talking about all those types of things. But again, it's just good for obviously the brand. So now continuing that and taking that same view, I guess, and then making a movie. So it's on Netflix, and then when people aren't sitting there playing video games, they're like, oh, I love Bioshock, or I'm interested in Bioshock. I've seen the cosplay at all the Comic Cons I've gone to. There's a person that has that actual Bioshock cosplay, like the whole helmet, the big drill, everything. So like you see that, and then you see that on Netflix, and you're like, that's my kind of show. That's my kind of movie. I'll watch that. So I'm very keen. I'm gonna be real and just straight up here. I haven't played Bioshock at all. I do have Bioshock on the Switch, but it's still in its packet. I haven't opened it. I've had it for like a year and a half, 2 years now. It is definitely something that I need to do. So, but I'll most likely just watch the show, because I'm like, hey, I know that's gaming. I'll watch that. That sounds cool. So I'm keen. I want to see some more stuff. I want to see GTA roleplay on Netflix or somehow.
That would actually be insane. Like we talked about this, and like you're saying, one of the creator gangs in RP actually have some form of like series, and they voice over certain things. Like what happens? What happens if
series on their YouTube channel? Yeah,
right. What happens if, let's say, YouTube or Netflix buy the rights to those characters or to that show, and they still have the content creators doing the voice acting, but then it's actually animated by a studio that gets paid for it, and it's all funded through these publishers and through these platforms outside of just their general content creation. What does that look like? And this is something that is probably next stage, right? It's next level. Like, what's the is it there's a RNG, not RNG. There's a D&D group that had raised a heap of money. I can't remember what they're called. Is it Roll 9 or Roll Dice? I can't remember what the exact name. But there was a D&D group that raised a crowdfunding campaign to generate enough funds to do their own animated series, right? And I'll try find it and pop it up on the screen. Yeah, I'll try find it and pop it up on screen so we can have a look. I can't for the life of me remember the name right now, but that's a crowdfunding. Role. It is Critical Role, actually. It is Critical Role. Yeah, so Critical Role were the ones that I think did the crowdfunding campaign for an animated series. So what happens when more publishers and more developers kind of funds these things, and these studios kind of pull together with creators that exist currently and kind of collaborate their intellectual property? Like we were talking about this a lot in the gaming trends thing, and I think it's just going to be continually more IP is going to release to more platforms, because not everyone consumes in the same way, right? Like some people probably won't play games that like Bioshock. Like you haven't played Bioshock, but you're a gamer, you understand Bioshock as the concept, you've seen it around, you've seen reviews, whatever, and now you're interested 100%. in watching the story, right? Like you'll be able to watch it instead of play it. And I think that's a really big distinction, is that I now like find that my downtime is a lot more watching than it is playing. When anytime I'm playing, I feel like I'm more creating than I am having downtime. Does that make sense? Like, I agree. I feel like there's a different mentality when I'm watching something versus when I'm playing something. And then also creating for something. So it's a different medium. It's a different way to consume. And I'm really interested as well for this to kind of blow up over the next couple of years, because there are some amazing stories in video games that can be told if done well, like in cinema. Like I still feel like there's this whole, like for me at least, there's this whole lore from like World of Warcraft that they could explore even further than just the movie that they've done already, that people would love. And I think finding the right, like hitting the mark is the hardest part. Yeah, being able to hit
it is with all of these. Like you'll see a movie come out or a movie adaptation of a game, and obviously everybody will have their 2 cents on it, but for the most part, like even if you talk to kind of anyone, they'll say, kind of the same ones are good and the same ones are bad, and obviously the bad ones aren't going to do as well. But I think that's the thing. Any of this stuff will definitely work. Like any kind of story game that maybe has a few in the series could work well as a series of movies. Like someone from the Chain Gang or someone from the Clean Boys or some big group like in role play, man, some of their managers need to get onto Netflix or something like that and sell a show, or even just sell a series. Like having like This Is Chain Gang or something, and it starts from when they all first met, and kind of then the progression up to where they are now as this massive powerhouse in a GTA roleplay city. Like that progression over like a 10-part series or a 12-part series, whatever, would be insane, especially if it's done really well. 45 minute episode or something like that. You kind of standard, show. Like I think that would do really well, and I think it would like blow up in terms of like on Reddit and social media and all the guys that are involved and everyone that kind of supports them sharing it. Like it would go wild, I think.
So in the next piece of news, we wanted to talk about Lost Ark. Now, Lost Ark has blown up online in the past week or so on Twitch. A lot of streamers, a lot of players, and we were just kind of looking through the stats, the game itself. Talk to Huddo about why does he think it's picked up, and especially like we've got these waves of games that come up, hit streaming content, hit content creators, and then blow up overall. And talk about a little bit as to the concepts behind content creators promoting games, and talking about how does a content creator actually help lift gamer retention or help lift game players. And we just want to quickly reference, we've got Steam database here with some info, and looking at it now, Lost Ark is peaked. All-time peak is 1.325 million players, which is second to PUBG.
That is crazy, bro.
Right? When was the last time you saw a game even hit that high? Like, it's insane. And I wanted to note as well that now in the top 10, we've got 2 games that have been published by Amazon Game Studios. So, or Amazon Games. So they're making a strong push for Steam releases and finding IP to release on Steam, and hitting these audiences and doing these crazy things. And like, tell us how to, like, you've streamed on Twitch before. You understand creator economy. You understand how game releases work. How do you see these types of things affecting game releases? But maybe even just talk about Lost Ark. Why do you think it did well?
I don't know if this has some sort of like, in a way, like obviously it's very WoW-esque in terms of, MMO, MMORPG, kind of RPG, whatever you want to call it and wherever you want to fit it in. But I think that, like, for me, looking at it, that has a huge, I guess, push in terms of like who's going to be playing it. There are a lot of people who love WoW, and even if it's not their main game and they are a huge content creator, if something comes out that's similar and they're going to enjoy it, they're going to jump over and play it for a little bit, which then obviously boosts peak viewership on all social media, especially on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, wherever they stream, and that's going to bring their communities in as well. And if it's done really well, from what I've seen, Lost Ark has done incredibly well, in terms of the way it plays, the functionality, the storylines, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's a major factor. It has to be a good game, and Lost Ark clearly is, which is going to be bringing a lot of these people across that are massive content creators, have massive pull in these communities, and it's something that is going to be bringing people across that are maybe trying to find the next game, or they are massive WoW players or massive MMOs, massive RPG players, and they're now like, what's the next biggest thing? What's the next thing I can sink my time into? And the other cool thing is that it is free to play, which I think you've seen from all of these top games. Well, not all the top games. Obviously, Cyberpunk is in there, but PUBG free to play, Lost Ark free to play, CS, Dota, they're all free to play, which really allows as many people as possible to jump in, because there's really nothing holding you back, besides having internet, having space on your PC. Free, jump in and get involved in the community. And then if you have a look on any sort of a streaming service, you'll see the top people playing it, and they'll go, cool, it must be all right. I'll jump in, I'll watch the stream while I'm playing it, and maybe I'll run into them. Maybe I'll enjoy it myself. Maybe I'll find a community. Maybe I'll find a clan and go from there. So I think there's a lot of different aspects to it, but yeah, one, being a good game seems like it is. Two, a lot of the big streamers are going to jump over and play it anyway. So if it's a good game, they're going to continue playing it. They're going to talk highly about it, and then more people are going to get involved. So if you hit both of those, I think you're onto something amazing.
Yeah, interesting. And I played a little bit of Lost Ark closed beta, and it's a port, right? Like, it's been ported from Southeast Asia into Western, and the big thing is that I think there's a lot of interesting IP as well that's going to be translated into English for the English speaking audience. There's some amazing games in Korea, in China that haven't even reached our shores yet, right? Like, imagine how Pokemon came across as well, right? It wasn't an English game originally. It had to be translated to the Western audience, and look at how big that is now. What happens when more IP starts reaching it across? And I think that's one thing. Two, the game itself, like it plays like Diablo to me, at least, right? Path of Exile. They're the two big games that I resonate with. That reminds me when I play Lost Ark. It does have a lot more online MMO elements than I think some of those games do. And there's a whole whole avenue that I haven't even touched in the game yet, right? Like you were saying, guilds and end game content and grinding through to get gear, etc., and loot and the best mounts, like the whole MMO aspect of it.
Yeah.
I also think, like, timing wise,
it does bring across from Dota, sorry, not from Dota, but from Diablo and a few others as well, and they're like huge communities. And
Mm.
then you chuck that in with the mix of in the kind of WoW community in that kind of RPG space. You bring them all together in this kind of crossover in a way, and then you add the waifus on top.
Yeah.
Like everyone's going to get involved, you know?
Yeah. Do you think there's an exhaustion from games like WoW at the moment? Like, do you think the legacy WoW players that have been playing WoW for a long time are looking for that next thing? Because I think there's a big like push to find the next MMO. At least like from the Twitter sphere, wherever else online. It seems as though MMO players are starving for a great MMO, and I think that for me at least, like you hear about things like New World was a big hype. Lost Ark now in the spotlight. There's one called Ashes of Creation, which is coming up, which a lot of people are talking about from the WoW communities. It seems as though there are games like this that are people are looking for and trying to dig their hands deep into. Some that are hitting the mark, some that aren't. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I definitely agree. So I think that's kind of why when I originally was talking about this at the start here, I kind of mentioned that like the WoW crossover kind of thing, right? With the communities and the content creators and the streamers and the people that make videos and stuff. Like, I think it is maybe them trying to find the next thing, but they majority of the time from all the WoW players I know, they'll always go back to WoW. Like it will always be their bread and butter, whether the game's at a bad point, whether it's at a good point, whether the viewership is high or low, they'll majority of the time go back to it. But I think that's why you see these massive peaks. Obviously, when these games come out, everyone jumps onto it. It's the new thing. It gives them a break from their main game, whether it be WoW, Diablo, whatever it may be. And then, they'll kind of either find it works for them, their community, their stream, their viewership goes, maybe their viewership will peak with it and then it'll drop down again. Then they'll go back to WoW and they'll keep doing what they're doing. Or maybe they'll find that Lost Ark revitalizes their love for these types of games and maybe brings in a bit of an extra community to their stream, and then their stream viewers are up and they keep going until maybe that drops off eventually, or maybe it'll stay and it'll get bigger. So I think like it's just such an easy crossover because it's not like a new FPS game comes out and then someone that plays WoW or Diablo only that's all they play. They have to jump across to a new FPS. Like they might do it at the end of the stream to have a bit of fun, or at the start of the stream, off stream, whatever. But being able to switch over and play like a different game, but it's in the same genre, and majority of your viewers will probably be playing it anyway. It allows for you to try something new, something different, but you're not going to be switching genres and losing, 80% of your retention or 80% of your audience because they're not interested in what you're playing. So I think that's why these games go so well. And especially because like these communities are massive, and there are a heap of massive content creators that still really enjoy these types of games. So porting over something like Lost Ark, it kind of like from the outset, it was always going to kind of do well.
Mm.
Just my thoughts anyway, for sure.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing talking about, keeping content and creators creating content in the similar genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you see like Battle Royale as an example, hybrid 1-to-1. Battle Royale content creators can do really well playing other Battle Royales because people are familiar with that. So I agree 100% that MMORPG players and action RPG players or content creators would also be watching the same content. They would be interested in Lost Ark, which is also the rise. So I think that's a really good point, that there's an existing dormant audience that has been playing the same games for a while. They're really interested in this new thing that's coming through. That's a good, really good point. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know, like in the stats here, just to kind of give an overview, there's a Twitch viewers flag, right? Yeah. And it's purposely put on the Steam database, and it kind of shows what's happened over the past week or so, right? We'll do weeks here. So this is from Feb 9th to today. It looks, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like it looks to me as though there's the amount of players has spiked with the amount of Twitch viewership that's occurred over time. Now, I don't know what the arrangements have been, but being an Amazon Games published game and Amazon owning Twitch, the likelihood of there being a lot of partnerships with content creators on Twitch as a platform to build that as a marketing tactic, like it happens across the board, right? We get
Yeah.
you get brands and games releasing games um, to then be promoted by Twitch streamers, and they get paid for their time as an ad or other, right? Contra, or they get a free game out of it, or they get free bonuses, etc.
Yeah.
It's quite clear to me, at least in this, it's pretty one to one. Like the amount of streamers or viewers versus the amount of players. Like to you from the content creator side, Huddo, like what do you think in terms of how important in today's gaming culture is having live streamers and content creators create on your game as a published game?
Oh, that's a great question. We might have to cut to someone in the publisher space one day
Mhm.
to ask them this same question. I think we can definitely get some good views on from their side. But I guess just kind of working with publishers over the years, I think for them to continue obviously doing what they're doing and keeping their companies running and all those types of things, obviously content creation is a big part of that. I wouldn't say it's like the only part because like you think like even if everyone right now uh all the social media platforms stopped, everyone stopped streaming, everyone stopped uploading videos, like obviously there's going to be a drop, but I think like majority of the time I think like people like these publishers could probably still continue doing what they're doing. People are always still going to play games, but I think even me, like if I'm going to sit here, I'm going to play a game, I'm going to be having someone up on another monitor. I'm watching what they're doing. I'm watching what they're playing. I'm using that as entertainment while I'm playing my games. So I think like it's always going to be the case, especially with a lot of these big games. Like you will see these peaks. You'll see a lot of players, and then you'll see the Twitch viewership jump up. You'll see the viewership jump up on all different platforms because people are going to be watching their favorite content creator, whether they're playing or not. Then they're going to be like, "Oh, I might jump in and play as well," and that's where
Mm.
the player base will jump up. Obviously, the more people playing, the more people are going to be watching, the more people are going to be sort of involved in the space as well and in that game. So I think it is definitely going to go hand in hand always. And I think the more people that are going to be like obviously seeing a game and seeing it in a positive light, then the more player base. So I feel like for me, like it is super important for publishers to still keep discussing and keep allowing content creators to play their games and kind of earn their own livelihood by being a content creator and then doing sponsorships or getting games and playing them and doing reviews and all those types of things. I think like it definitely goes hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I think there's a big push for content
Mm,
creators to kind of play your game, right? And
yeah.
getting the right creators to play the right game at the right time to the right audience. And if you hit that
Mhm.
well, which it seems as though this has, right? It peaks and it gets a massive amount of attention. And even right now, almost 900,000 players playing right now as we record
Mhm.
this, which is insane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and in comparison, what was it like to what everything else is? Let's go current. It is
Yeah, have a look at the current.
three times as much as Counter Strike, 2.5 times as much as
That's crazy.
as Dota. Like it's in hitting crazy numbers right now,
Yeah.
and like talk to me about like the hype trend, right? Like we see this as well a lot with games like Fall Guys, and even New World has dipped a bit now back to like
Mhm.
45,000, and Lost Ark. Like how it depends on the game, right? And obviously
100%.
there are games that will stand the test of time, like Counter Strike and Dota are always in the top, and
Yeah.
have been for years, right? And top 10 at least. And there are games that come and go, and then there are games that like you said, that people will constantly go back to after they've got bored of whatever new thing they're testing out.
Yeah.
And I guess like this is just probably more a cultural question than it is hype. But like, what are your thoughts on how gaming culture or gaming hype really reflects around the purchase decisions, the marketing
Mhm.
decisions, the content creator decisions? Like, what are your thoughts on the game hype?
Yeah. That's a good question too, because I think like no matter who you ask, like this is going to be a very different answer.
Yeah.
That's difficult, yeah. Because like I guess you could say like if it's a good game, it will stick. But then you've got some great, fantastic games that just don't have any longevity.
Mm.
And then you've got games like, like Fall Guys. That was a very fun game. And even if you jumped in a group of people with people right now and played it, you would have a really fun time. But it just went boom and then just went, see you later.
Yeah.
Like even their Twitter, bro. Their Twitter went from like 10,000 followers to 1 million in like a week. Like I
Yeah.
remember watching it, and then they ended up going pushing into the meme. Like when we hit this, we'll do this. When we hit this, we'll unlock this. When we hit this, like they really pushed it hard. I think they did such an incredible job of what they were doing in terms of like pushing into content creators. Sharing content creator stuff, really getting involved in the community. But then they just didn't bring out a new map in quicker than what people wanted it, and it dropped a lot.
Mm.
But then you've got games like CS and Dota and Destiny 2 and Rust, like even Team Fortress 2. Like some of these games have been around for 10 years more,
Yeah.
and they're still in the top. Like I think if we could answer how they did it and how you could guarantee that, like I don't think we'd be here talking about it. I think we'd be in a boardroom with someone, and we'd be on a hell of a lot more money than what we're on right now, because we'd be able to tell people how you keep Lost Ark in the top 5 for the next 10 years. I think we'd be worth a lot of money. So I don't know. I really genuinely don't know. But yeah, I think like if you can get content creators really enjoying it, if they can build a community around the game, like you can't build a community around Fall Guys. Like
Mm.
I kind of you can't really, like, you can build a community around CS:GO, Dota, Lost Ark, Apex, Destiny, Rust. Like you can build communities around these, and there's a lot you can do in those to keep expanding on the game or keep doing things in different ways. Whereas I feel like some of the games that really drop off, like for me, like I couldn't see myself or my community continually playing that game because it would get repetitive. Whereas a lot of these other games, they don't really get repetitive, or like the way that you can play them and the way you can keep thinking about playing them, you can change the way the game plays so much,
Mm.
with challenges or random stuff, or playing with different people will change how the game plays and how, you kind of think about it. But a few of the games that do drop off, like I feel like they just get too repetitive. Like there's just no replayability. So
And
I don't know.
that's a key
Maybe
word.
that's the
That
way.
replayability, I think, is the key word,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Replayability and
That's
retention.
the word
And
of the day for us today, right?
yeah, I'll
Replayability.
chuck it up on screen and replayability.
Hell yeah.
So looking at the replayability as a key thing, right? These top 10, top 20, even just looking at this snapshot, majority of them are online competitive games or online survival games, right? Online something, which I think is a key thing. Like Dying Light might be around for now, and however, it may, once people finish the story, will they continue playing it? Will they continue doing co-op? That's a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Single player games don't tend to be as long because they're kind of like transactional in a way. I finished the story, I completed it, it's on to the next story, on to the next thing. And maybe some people go back and do the collectibles, or they try complete it on the hardest difficulty. And that's the replayability. So then even looking at freemium models, right? We've got games like Lost Ark and PUBG that are now free to play. Even Fortnite off of this list is free to play, but then they offer in-game purchases for skins, for battle passes that have events as well that have longevity, right? And this is the thing of replayability, is that you're actually able to go back in and there's incentive to continue playing. So it's a big thing, not necessarily from us as the marketing agency that markets the games, but more from the developers and publishers to incentivize their gaming audiences. And that's more around game marketing, as in like the game itself and game mechanics, right? And how do they increase retention through game mechanics? So I'm really interested to kind of, keep an eye on a lot of this stuff, because we play games and we know which games go well and don't go well. We know which games that we enjoy. But like analyzing it from this standpoint, Rust is a game that I've played since like the early old Rust, before it transitioned to the one we know today, right? It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it has been.
And it's that kind of like reset and replay that you can do in Rust, and some survival games. And I really think there's something there that resonates with people. It's like they have something to come back to grow upon, to increase upon, whether it be skill, whether it be their base, whether it be their in-game gold or currency or their items or their loot. There's something to improve on. And I think that like skill versus reward is something that a lot of these games, at least in the top 20, do really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree there.
And for the question of the day, what games do you want to see become a TV show or movie? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I'm Nick from goto.game, and this is JackHuddo. In today's video, we covered 100 Thieves doing a collaboration with Dog the Film, who's got Channing Tatum. We covered Netflix and doing a Bioshock film with 2K and Take-Two Interactive. And we looked at Lost Ark, the new hyped game on Steam that's hit 1.35 million players, is now number 2 on the Steam DB charts.